So it's been a few days since I've showed you the chickens, the little chicks. Now the white ones, all the white ones you see here are the Brahmas. We bought those. There's 7 Brahmas. The ones with the green marks on their head, again, like that one there, is a hen. No, I mean is a rooster. The rest of them are hens. So 2 roosters, 5 hens. And the thing is they are really starting to look like Brahmas. All the pictures that we've seen, they look just like the Brahmas, especially when they look at you straight on. This one in particular, where is it? This one in particular, right here. And they're all trained now that if we come close to the cage, they're getting food, so they think they're getting food right now. The Brahmas are very timid compared to all the other ones. They don't pick fights too much, and yeah, that one looks very Brahmish. And so Brahmas are supposed to be very laid back and calm and nice. And I can see it. Now we got this little rooster. He is really small compared to the rest of them. So the Brahmas are supposed to get up to 12 pounds, the roosters are. But look at those fuzzy feet. Even their feet get feathers. They're not quite full enough of feathers to take outside just yet. And it's still cold and rainy. It rained last night, got down into the, well, low 60s. It's not cold, but too cold for them. But they're starting to get their feathers. You can see it on their wings and their tails. And then here's the other ones. These are all the ones that we incubated. And they're quite big. I'm really surprised how big they've gotten. Look at that. So these will be the meat birds. We'll butcher these guys, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 weeks. I don't know how old they are now. I'll have to look at the calendar. Now the Brahmas, they like to sleep on their rod all the time. They're always on their rod. I mean, of course not right now. Now you'll see that black one back there. Rarely do the other ones, and of course in the video they're gonna make a liar out of me, but rarely do the black ones get on the rod. It's always the Brahmas. This morning, we didn't cover them up. Normally we put a blanket over here. This morning we didn't cover them up, and all of them were sleeping up there on that rod. But they're starting to get pretty big and getting messy, and you got to clean the cage now. Probably every other day now, I think we're doing it. We just cleaned it yesterday. You can already see it starting to build up in there. So like I was saying, in there, it rained again last night, and it's not just a little rain. It's an all-night thing. Just these flooding rains where it's just downpours. And it's been like this all spring. I say it nearly every day, but nothing's changed. Day before yesterday, I was telling you that Carolyn's garden is just gone. And I want to address that here in a little bit, but I got a few things I want to talk about before I get to that. But the garden is just flooded, and all the tomatoes, well, at least most of the tomatoes, have died. At least I think they have. Carolyn seems to think there's still hope for them, that they might recover. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath. I just feel so bad for her that she worked so hard all winter, well, the latter part of the winter, to get the tomatoes grown and the beans and all that. I mean, she still got some green beans. And that's the thing, is everything she did in this raised bed that we had to garden in last year did pretty good. They all survived. So the green beans, and oh my goodness, I forgot what that was. So all this garden's doing okay. That was our test garden last year, so then she went ahead and used it again. What has she got here? Watermelon, I think, is right here. So not bad. But again, like I showed you the other day, these tomatoes are just terrible looking. Now what she's saying, see, I see this, and that's, I think, oh my goodness. But she sees that and says it's going to recover. But it's just flooded. Now, like I told you, this is on a slope, so all the water can drain off. It's just not. It's just, we've had so much rain, it's just not draining off. I see a tomato over there. It looks like they're pretty healthy. So she was going to come down here today and work, but she's just slipping and sliding when she comes down here in the mud. So I feel bad for her. I really am hoping that this works out. She got 20 tomatoes. No, she got more than that, 25 tomatoes. And her goal was to can tomatoes this fall so we could do a water bath. And not only for the video, I was going to say I want to do a water bath for you guys for the video instead of pressure canning, but tomato is pretty much the only vegetable or fruit or whatever you want to that we eat, because Carolyn makes this meat patty. I call it spaghetti. It tastes like spaghetti. She makes the spaghetti sauce out of tomatoes, and I figured if we could can some, then we wouldn't have to go buy the tomatoes. Well, the canned tomatoes. My new generator. I love this thing. As you can see, we're running with propane, and it's just fantastic. I haven't ran it in a few days until today. It rained this morning. Last night it was cloudy, so I ran it for an hour. This morning it would rain, so I went ahead and ran it, 3 hours, I think. What happened was I was on there on the computer and I noticed that we had lost power. Now, when I charge the batteries, I disconnect the house from the batteries and I plug it into the generator. It's all wired up in there where I can do that. Just switch it over from inverter batteries to the generator. And then I plug the battery charger into the generator, and the battery charger charges up the batteries. That way there's no load from the house on the batteries while I'm charging. So if the generator kicks off, you notice immediately, because everything in the house shuts off. On the computer, it's a battery backup. You know, there's a battery on it. So it just dims down. You don't really notice it. So I was on the computer and it dimmed down. I thought, well, wonder what happened. Anyway, so it's raining, so I get my hood back on, or my raincoat back on, and I come down here, and it had fallen off the bricks. I only had one brick at the time, now I got two. It had fallen off. That's the first time that's ever happened. It's never moved or budged or anything. I can't understand why it fell off. And it fell off after 3 hours of runtime. Well, fortunately, this is what's so great about these generators, is it has a low oil shutoff. In this case, when it fell onto its side, all the oil rushed to one side, I guess, thankfully, away from the probe that senses it, and it shut off. That's fantastic. That way it didn't tear it up. I started to back up. It ran fine. Of course, I didn't need it at that point. I was getting ready to come down and shut it off anyways. And it's on propane. That's the second big deal, is it was on propane. If it had been on gas, the gas would have poured out everywhere. It would have flooded the carburetor. It would have been a big mess. Now, I put it on the bricks, and I covered it up like this to help keep it off the ground, because on my old generator, all that dirt and everything got into the bottom of the generator, and I had to clean it out. So I figured if I picked this one up, it would stay cleaner. Also, I put this little piece of metal so the rain would stay off of it, trying to do a good thing to it, and I about destroyed it. If it hadn't been for that low oil shutoff, I would have ruined it. That's not the first time I've knocked one over. I can't remember the other time, but I remember knocking it over, and I was thankful that it shut off. So I wanted to show you the medium-sized chickens, the adolescents. They've been chirpy birds, just like, you know, chirp, 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 because they're little chicks. Well, they're starting to get pretty big. I showed you this the other day. They're getting good size. Yeah, they're chirping right now, but this morning I heard their grown-up voice. They were quacking a little bit. It's not quite defined like the others, but they're definitely getting their adult voice. I actually couldn't figure it out at first. I heard a strange noise, didn't understand. Look at that. They knocked over, I don't know if you can see that, they knocked over their feeder, and all that food fell down. I hope they picked that up. Dadgummit. I don't like wasting the food like that. Yesterday they broke an egg, and it wasn't that they beaked it. It looks like they may have sat on it or something too hard or something. That's the first time I've seen that. So I'm gonna check for eggs real quick. We got one laying right now, so we should get some out of them. All the web pages says they should be laying their eggs before 10:30. Our chickens don't lay before 10:30, none of them. Came down at 10:30 earlier, and they were still laying, but they hadn't dropped the eggs yet. Came back down at noon, and there was 3 eggs. So the other day I showed you the garden. A lot of people said that we should plant our garden in buckets or do a raised garden. I can't disagree with you. This morning I told Carolyn what you guys had said, and she said, well, I mean, yeah, that's all fine and good, but one, we wouldn't have the room. Somebody said put them on the porch. we got 20 something tomatoes. That's 20 buckets. So $5 a piece for a bucket. We're talking $100 for buckets. And then you gotta always make sure they're watered versus this, what we have now, where they're getting too much water. So we were talking back and forth about it, and we don't see a huge benefit considering the amount that we have to have. Plus all the peppers and everything. I'm just talking about tomatoes right this moment. I don't know if people really understand the scope of what we're trying to do. We are trying to become as self-sufficient as humanly possible. We're getting there, and I feel like we're really making headway. Now, the second thing, I guess I didn't understand about the comments about the buckets is we worked all winter trying to get that area, and last fall, trying to get that area set up so she could have a big garden. Originally, we were going to make it a corn garden, but we decided we were just going to put tomatoes and peppers and different things in it so we can have our flavoring for our meat, because we're doing the carnivorous diet. Well, now the tomatoes have died, hindsight being 2020. People are saying you need to put them in buckets. Well, I don't know if that means you think I should go out and buy more tomatoes, or if we should dig these up. I mean, if they're dead, I don't see the point in doing it. The thing about the tomatoes is Carolyn worked very hard raising the tomatoes in her greenhouse. You'll see that we got the greenhouse. It's silly to say, but that was part of the effort, was trying to become self-reliant by planting them from seeds, growing them, taking care of them, and then planting them over there. That's what's so frustrating. I mean, we can go out and buy a bunch of stuff. Who knew it was going to be this rainy this year? So if you can take a look at that super thanks button, I'd really appreciate it. So I hope I can inspire you to live self-sustaining cheaply so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.